sound like me. It's ridiculous. So, he does need to recite the oath of office. Oh, you get to John Hancock's in there. And we will do that after Pledge of Allegiance,
How about if we do it at the way end?
or we can do it at the end.
I'll do it right before the approval of minutes.
Okay.
So read oath,
Yep. Works for me.
then
Okay.
these guys don't,
I'll let Deb know that that's when we do it. He's gonna do the oath of office at the end of the meeting.
yeah, because they don't need to be around for
It's all
that.
fine.
All right, good evening and welcome to the March Board of Adjustment meeting. My name is Amy Sherping and I am the chair of the Stearns County Board of Adjustment. I call this meeting to order. Please rise if able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will conduct a roll call of members. Barry.
Present.
Rob.
Present.
George. Michael is absent. Amy is here. Dan.
Here.
Dave.
Here.
Please place all electronic devices on silent. All comments and testimony shall be directed to the chair. All persons providing information must state their name and address for the record. The meeting will run as follows. I will read the variance request, which will open the public hearing. While I'm reading your request, the applicant or their representative should come forward and have a seat in front of the board by the microphone. Environmental service staff will review the staff report and any correspondence has been received regarding the request. The applicant or representatives will state their name and address and provide any input, corrections, concerns, comments, etc. Board will discuss the request and ask questions of staff or applicant. Upon completion of board questions, I will ask if there is anyone in the audience wishing to speak to this request. If there is, that person should come to the podium, state their name and address for the record, and give their testimony. When all testimony is complete, I will ask the board members for a motion to close the public hearing. No further input will be taken once the public hearing is closed, unless recognized by the chair or if one of the board members is seeking clarification. The board will review, discuss, and vote on the finding of facts. The findings are a series of questions that the board is required to answer based on Minnesota statute and the requirements of the ordinance. All questions must be answered in the affirmative by the board in order to grant a variance request. Our first agenda item this evening is to consider new and after the fact requests from Derek Lingva of Unique Design, Build and Remodel from Big Lake on behalf of Christopher and Sean Swanson of Elberville from sections 5.1.2a, C, 99.a, 10.211a, and 10.211a of Stearns County Land Use and Zoning Ordinance 439 to A, replace and expand a legal non-conforming residential accessory structure 9.6 feet to the side property line in an R1 zoning district and 9.6 feet from the road right-of-way of Ashview Road classified a township road. And 2, leave as constructed illegal deck additions on a legal non-conforming principal structure, 1 being ahead of the established building line and 64.3 feet to the ordinary high water level of Lake Louisa, classified general development. And lastly, to leave as constructed a water-oriented accessory structure 9.7 feet to the side property line in an R1 zoning district and partially within the flood fringe over a 100-year flood hazard area. The affected property is part of the north half of the north 1/4, section 7, and part of the southwest 1/4 of the southeast 1/4, section 6, Fairhaven Township. The property's address is 12862 Ashview Road, South Haven, Minnesota. All right. Which board members were able to visit the site, and was there any discussion that occurred? Barry?
I was not able to visit the site.
Rob?
I was there, no conversations.
I did visit. Dan?
Visited and had a phone call with the applicant.
David?
I visited, but no discussion.
George?
No.
All right. Ask staff report and any correspondence received, please.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm not going to regurgitate all the requests there since Amy went through all those, so we'll go right into the background. The current property owners acquired this property in March of 2020. The tract is 89,972 square feet or 2.07 acres in lot area per the certificate of survey that they supplied with the application. The property is zoned R1. It's actually split zoning, but it's zoned R1 in the areas where the requests are applicable tonight. A little bit of a history here on the property. In 1980, a previous owner did obtain a permit for the original house with the walkout basement. It's located 72.9 feet landward of the lake, which represents a 2.8% deviation from the required setback. It was placed a little closer to the lake than what was obviously permitted. So any additions onto this specific structure would require a request for variance. In 1990, again, a previous owner constructed, it's an approximately 10 by 33 deck. It's on the road side of the house, the non-lake side, and there was no valid permit. And this is considered an expansion of the existing legal non-conforming principal structure. That deck does meet all the minimum required setbacks. In 2006, again, a previous owner constructed a 9 by 33 deck on the lake side of the house. No permit, which again is just a further expansion of the non-conforming structure. So that deck is actually ahead of the established building line, and it is 64.3 feet landward of the ordinary high water level, or a 14.27% deviation from the required setback. I mentioned that the current owners acquired the property in March of 2020. Just the aerial photo review showed that sometime between 2021 and 2024, they added what I deemed a water-oriented accessory structure. Essentially, it's just a lean-to to protect their firewood from the elements. Unfortunately, it's only 9.7 feet from the side property line, which is a 3% deviation from the required 10 feet. That structure does not require a permit, but it does need to meet the required setbacks. Again, 10 feet from the lake and 10 feet from the side property line. And approximately half of it's in the 100-year flood. Now, the reason that we're actually here tonight is the proposed garage. The owners want to replace and expand that existing 24 by 24 detached garage, and that was constructed prior to any rules, so it's allowed to remain as is. However, if they want to expand it, that's going to trigger the need for a variance request. So currently that garage is about 12.58 feet high from what I measured. And then the new garage would be 18 feet 5 inches to the peak. Again, this is an expansion of that legal non-conforming structure. It's 9.6 feet from the side property line, and the platted road right-of-way. So they're one and the same, the road right-of-way and the property line. So that's a 4% and 68% deviation, respectively. 4% from the side property line, 68 from the road right-of-way. They could replace the existing garage to the same dimensions and height without needing a variance. There is also a small 8x12 shed, and so this property is allowed 1,800 square feet for accessory structure area. With that shed, that leaves them 1,704 with a 12-foot sidewall and a 20-foot overall building height. And this proposed structure is within the sidewall and overall height allowances. The property is in the Shoreline Overlay District of Lake Louisa. Louisa is a general development lake, and it is on the impaired waters list for excessive nutrients. The existing lot coverage is 13.35%, and this proposal will not impact or increase the lot coverage. The sewage treatment system will need to undergo a compliance inspection by June 15th of this summer. Winter conditions prevent that from being completed right now. Alternatives would be to remove the illegal decks and replace them with 4-foot walkways, and to move the water-oriented accessory or the lean-to 10 feet from the side property line. And also, they could replace the existing garage to those same dimensions and height. Fairhaven Township, Clearwater River Watershed District, Department of Natural Resources, and property owners within 500 feet have been notified. I do have one item of correspondence, and that's included in your packets, so I won't read through that tonight. And that's really all I have, Madam Chair.
All right, applicants, please provide your name and your address for the record and any comments or questions for the board at this time.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Chris Swanson. My home address is 6320 Jason Avenue in Albertville, Minnesota. Appreciate everyone's time here tonight. Just a quick rundown of the circumstances leading up to this. We actually had a delivery driver lose control of their vehicle, which drove through our garage and essentially totaled out our garage. So that is how this whole process started. That was in January of 24. And I just am trying to rebuild my garage. Really, that's been there. The footprint itself is staying the same. So I guess an expansion would be upwards. That would be considered an expansion, I guess. But in terms of making the footprint any bigger, that is just going to remain the same. And, you know, any of the other items, I guess, that were discussed here just weren't, I had no knowledge of that. I purchased the cabinet. We use this as our cabin. Purchased it, like he said, in March of 20, and this is the first I've understood any of the other items on there. I did build the lean-to 2 years ago. I didn't put enough thought into checking the setbacks and things like that, so my apologies there. If that needs to be moved, I mean, I'm happy to move that.
Do any board members have any questions or clarification for applicant or staff?
Madam Chair, I do. For the applicant, Mr. Swanson, is that a rental unit then?
Nope.
Rented?
No, we don't rent it. No, it's our cabin.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I saw a young lady and a young boy coming and going when I was there the other day.
That is probably my wife and my
Okay.
son.
Okay. And you say that when you put that firewood shelter up,
Yes.
how far did you sink the posts?
Oh, how far did I sink them? I would say about 2 feet. Some are different levels, just because I bought, I believe, 8 or 10-foot posts, and I just wanted, I didn't saw any of them, so I buried them to make sure they're all level, you know, to get that right elevation.
Would it be easy enough for you to move?
If that would make this better, I would be more than happy to
It
move
would-
it.
It would be one less thing for us to have to discuss. If you give the board your word that you're going to move it,
I will do
we'll
that.
take your word for that.
Okay, yes, I'll be happy to do that.
Thank
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I had a question. If I understand it right, and maybe this is for staff, you said the current height of the garage as it was 12 feet, and they're looking to go to 18? Is that what I heard right?
Madam Chair, Member Bentrud, I believe I measured it. I had a steel tape and I was able to get to the peak. I had 12.58 feet. And then, yes, this proposed would be 18 feet 5 inches again, on the road side.
Got it. So roughly 6 feet. What's your intent for that space, or what is that going to be?
Yes, so, you know, this is Derek, who I'm working with for the building process, and I just thought, hey, what would it look like if we put attic trusses in there? So that's mainly just some storage up there. That is the only intent. I don't think the space is going to be really big enough to be usable for anything functional other than storage. The garage itself is been an eyesore, honestly, since we bought the place, so I really want to try and make it better and look better as well.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I got another question for the applicant. When I read your application, it said the 24 by 24 garage that was total due to a car driving through the rear of the structure. Before I went down there, I expected to see a pile of lumber and the roof laying on top of it, but
Yes,
that's not the case.
correct. So I can elaborate a little.
The car punched a hole in it, but it's
Mhm.
certainly repairable.
Right. So, thank you. I can elaborate a little on that. So both garage doors were totaled. I did replace one, so we had a usable garage door. The framework itself was twisted or put off kilter to some extent. On the southwest corner of the garage, the foundation is completely cracked it's broken away. And there's probably additional things that Derek may be able to chime in on if necessary, but the insurance company deemed it totaled. We've been paid by the insurance company. Unfortunately, you know, we didn't even acquire enough money from the insurance company to cover the entire rebuild of the garage, so I have quite a bit of out-of-pocket money here as well. The young lady that ran into our garage was a college student, and it's my understanding that she had the bare minimum of property damage coverage required by the state of Minnesota of $10,000, which prompted me to have to use my homeowner's insurance, and we understand, you know, how pricing is going up for everything. So my coverage did not meet the, you know, cost of rebuilding this. So I'm going to be stuck with, I believe, right around $16,000 out of pocket because of this in order to get this rebuilt as it is.
Question for applicant. Did you have a report of the insurance adjusters deeming it in?
I
letter?
would be able to get that.
Okay.
Yes. I apologize. I didn't bring
That's
that
okay.
with.
You have a copy of it though, so that's all I need to know.
Yes.
All right. Do any of the board members have any questions? Okay. Anyone wanting to provide any testimony, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Okay, then I'm going to ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Are there any further discussions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say sign. The public hearing is closed. All right, so board, how would you like to proceed with the findings? Do you want to do the after the facts first, together, separate? Are we removing? Oh, where did my-
Madam Chair, my suggestion would be to do the after the fact one separate from the variance request
Okay. Do you want
in the
to,
garage.
Madam Chair, you need to do those separate, so.
Do you want B, C, and D all on one, or B and C on one, and D, oh, D is one,
Well,
right?
yeah,
yeah, we're not doing D, correct? You're going to take that down?
Yes.
Okay.
To be moved into compliance, okay. So B and C together.
You guys okay doing the decks together, or do you want to do them separate?
Let's do them together. I say do them together.
George?
I don't have a preference. I really don't care.
Barry? Rob?
Do you have a preference? No, I'm sorry.
Dave? No preference?
No preference.
Barry? Rob? And I'd like to see them done together as well. All right, so we are gonna. Okay, so this one's out. All right, so this is to do the deck, the 10 by 33 and the 9 by 33. All right. When considering an after-the-fact variance request, to just keep these in mind, there's a separate thing of questions you guys should keep in mind here too. So, the first one is the proposed use allowed in the zoning district in which the subject property is located?
I'll say yes, decks are allowed.
Dan. Barry?
I say yes.
Rob?
yes.
Dave?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay. Is the variance in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the official controls?
Madam Chair, I'm going to say no, that the control is to keep structures back from the water's edge and to prevent additions to the illegal non-conforming structure, which the house is. It's illegal to begin with. So all those numbers you read at the beginning there, it doesn't go along with those. It's allowing a deck too close to the lake, and it's on a non-conforming structure to begin with.
Okay. Barry?
I concur.
Dan?
I'm going to say yes on this. The general purpose is intent, the decks that are in there in these confined areas. And it's been there, let's say, I just think that I'd be okay with this.
Okay. Dave?
I'll say yes.
George?
I'm going to say yes. I don't think that the county's benefits are outweighed by the burden to the applicant because the deck already exists for quite some time.
And I agree, I'm a yes. Number 3, is the variance request consistent with the comprehensive plan? It's.
I didn't put my copy in. Decks, some here, living goals. I'm going to say yes. Yeah, living goals number 3.
Barry,
Say yes.
Rob,
I'm going to say no under Lakeshore Living Policies 1, limit the impact of additional shoreland development. And it's not new, but it shouldn't be there. I'm going to say no.
George,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Number 4, is the property owner proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by an official control?
Madam Chair, I'm going to say yes. Having a deck and using it is certainly okay.
Dave,
Yes, I would concur.
Dan,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Rob,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
all right. Number 5, is the plight of the landowner due to circumstances unique to the property not created by the landowner?
I'm going to say yes, he didn't put the deck on. It was there when he purchased it.
I'm guessing it was probably built that way
Yeah, so
when the house was designed.
that's what I would say, looking at the elevation.
So, Barry,
I'd say yes too. The owner obviously wasn't aware of the regulations on the decks and admittedly said, I guess I didn't think about a setback on the property. So that was, I believe, no surprise to you, sir.
Should I
Right,
speak?
correct.
Okay, so I was saying that in reference to the lean-to?
Right. You,
Okay. Is that what you're speaking about?
yes,
I'm
you
sorry.
knew there was a setback. You just didn't, you kind of guessed.
Correct. I think I was close.
okay. Rob,
Yes.
George,
Yes, because construction's completed and there are similar structures in the area.
Dave,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Number 6, will the variance maintain the essential character of the locality? Yes or no?
I'm a yes on that. Looking at the other buildings, there's nothing unique. You know, the structure's the same. They all have decks, and all attached to the homes and lakeside and side building side, so.
Okay. Barry,
Well, the question, will it, and so it would be a no, wouldn't it? Because it's not going to, unless,
will the variance maintain the essential character of the locality?
oh, yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. All right, number 7, the need for the variance involves more than economic consideration, yes or no? I'm going to say yes, economics weren't discussed. Barry,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
what are the results of the findings, staff?
All of the questions were answered in the affirmative, so you can grant the variance.
Okay, can I get a motion to grant based on the,
Madam Chair, I'll say a motion to grant.
George? Okay, can I get a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say sign. Motion passed. Board members, any conditions or migrations as needed? Okay, moving on to the garage. All right. Is the proposed use allowed in the zoning district in which the subject property is located? Yes or no?
Madam Chair, yes, use of a garage is allowed.
And that is an R1,
That
just to
portion's
add
on,
to that.
yeah.
So yes, I'm a yes as well. Barry,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Mike, or Dan,
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Okay. Number 2, is the variance in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the official controls? Yes or no?
Madam Chair, I'm going to say no. The plan calls for, controls call for limiting the height of structures in the certain districts. In the R1, where this is located, it's too high. It'll also block view of the lake on passerbys. And that's all.
Madam Chair, I have a question for staff on that. So the building is non-conforming. It could be constructed exactly with the same height requirements, correct?
Madam Chair, Member Ray, it can be reconstructed to the same dimensions without the need for a variance.
So the need for the variance is because of the increased height from the original structure. What is the height limitation out there?
So the height limitation is 20 feet,
So
and
it's-
they're proposing 18 feet 5 inches.
So they're under the height limitations.
That's allowed, yes.
Madam Chair, my mistake.
But it is
The fact that
it's the nonconformity that
Right,
requires
that-
it, yes.
Non-conforming, you're expanding a non-conformity.
Okay, Rob,
No,
you're still a no?
I was wrong on the height.
Okay,
But you're still changing the non-conforming structure.
okay. Barry,
I'm a yes.
George,
Yes.
Dan,
I'm a yes because it's underneath the existing controls.
Dave,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Number 3, is the variance request consistent with the comp plan? Yes or no? Yeah, I know.
Maybe there's not a real clear one for.
I know. I'm going to say yes under living goals. Number 3, support housing options that give people in all stages of all economic means valuable choice for safe, stable, and affordable homes. With that being said, Barry,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Dave.
Yes.
Okay, number 5, is the property owner proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by an official control?
I'm going to say yes with the understanding that that doesn't intend to use it as living quarters up there or anything. It's a small storage space, so I'm going to say yes. That's your intent, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
I would also like to add to Dan saying it is reasonable to want a garage to park your vehicles and stuff out of the elements. Barry,
Considering you're not going to use it for anything other than storage, I'm a yes.
Rob,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Dave.
Yes.
Number 5, is the plight of the landowner due to circumstances unique to the property not created by the landowner? Yes or no?
Madam Chair, when you boil it down to what we're dealing with, the variance, there's nothing with the property that has to do, that requires him to have a variance. He can rebuild that garage the way it sits. There's nothing unique to the property that would prevent him from rebuilding that garage or building the garage to meet all the setbacks if he wanted to go far enough. So no, the circumstances that unique to the property are not there.
Okay, but I'm going to disagree with you. Unfortunately, there was a vehicle that put a hole in it, and it was deemed a total loss. So,
And the
and
the
from
plan gives him the right to rebuild that.
which he still is using the existing foundation.
Yeah, but it's a non-conforming. It does not allow him to go higher or bigger. And there's nothing geographically there that would make us give him a variance because of the steep slope or the river or anything like that.
Well, let's see what other board members have to think. Barry? Yes or no?
Considering the foundation is, how damaged is the foundation?
The southwest corner of the block is separated from the rest of it, so there's
Is the slab intact?
no. The slab on the inside
Yes.
is got a crack as well. That could have been pre-existing, just in all honesty, but
Yes.
I'm going to just piggyback here a little bit. I don't think what he's asking for is an astronomical amount, like some people can be super greedy. To me, this is a very small, simple request. It's to create space. Okay, George,
I'm a yes.
Dan,
I'm a yes. When I look at, what we're looking at is a height, but the height is conforming to our normal that we have, and, and the garage is there, it's been there. It's just, to me, I think it's rather onerous to create yet another restriction on something like this, so I'm a yes.
Dave.
I would concur with Dan, yes.
Okay, number 6, will the variance maintain the essential character of the locality? Personally, I think it's going to add value. It's not going to be an eyesore. It's going to look a little bit nicer, neater, cleaner. And it won't have a hole in it, which I'm sure is an eyesore. So I am a yes. George,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
All right. Number 7, the need for variance involves more than economic consideration, yes or no?
Madam Chair, I'm going to have to say no. We talked about economics. Economics are what's driving the request for the variance.
I might disagree with you a little bit on this. Just, when anyone files insurance claims, you have to spend the money or they give you a lesser amount. So I guess for me, if I have to spend the money and spend a little bit extra out of pocket, which most people do, I believe economics are to be considered. That's money.
So economics, so the answer to that question would be no.
Yes.
Yes, it's no, or yes, it's yes?
No,
I think
I'm
I,
teasing you.
Madam
yeah,
Chair,
I know.
it does involve more than economic considerations in this case. You gotta get a garage in there, you gotta get that replaced. You mentioned the economics on it, but that's not the driver.
It's not the driver, but, he does have this insurance claim, and it has to be satisfied. So,
But I think I'm gonna go with a yes because it involves more than just he's paying more for it to get it done. So it's, the
Right.
issue is, so I'm a yes.
okay. Rob,
No.
Barry,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Staff, what are the results of the finding?
Madam Chair, all the questions were answered in the affirmative.
Okay, can I get a motion to grant based on the findings?
I'd like to make a motion, but there was a comment about the lean-to and the move. Does that have to be in part of this, or is it just struck? How do you do that?
Madam Chair, Member Ray, so you could put a condition on the approval that the water-oriented is moved to meet the setback requirements. And you could date it if the applicant has, if there's an amenable date when that would be done by.
Would that be by a separate motion, second, and vote, or on that would have to be separate? So now we're just looking at the variance on the garage, correct?
Right, and then you can make that motion after that.
And
So I make a motion to approve the variance for the garage.
Okay, can I get a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say sign.
Aye.
Motion passes. And then, any conditions or migrations needed?
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that a condition with some reasonable time period, that is moved before the completion of the garage. I don't think that's asking too much of this committee.
No? You guys okay with that? And you want to add anything?
No, I'll second as said.
Okay, so the motion was to grant the condition?
To move
To,
the wood lean-to
okay,
in conjunction with being granted the variance for the garage.
okay. Can I get a second for that motion?
But he already gave us his word he was going to do that.
Yep, but it's still a motion.
Okay, I'll second it.
Thank you. Okay. Good luck with everything. Any questions, please?
Oh, can we get a vote?
We
have
gotta
to have a
approve it.
vote on the motion.
Oh,
Sorry, that
that's
was my
okay.
phone.
that's okay. So we're getting a motion to approve
For the
the
condition?
condition?
Yep.
Yep, I got a motion and a second. We just need to vote.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Okay. Any questions, please direct them towards staff. Thank you. Ha.
Thank you.
Still new at this. Oh my gosh, I bet you want this back.
You don't have to read that whole table, I think I put what you should read in there. Yeah, for number 2.
Okay. Our second agenda item is to consider an after-the-fact request from Clearwater Forest, Edina, Minnesota. The applicant has requested to table the item due to future date. This item will be renoticed when it is ready to come back to the board. Can I get a motion to accept tabling of the request?
Madam Chair, I'll move to accept that.
Okay. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion on tabling the request? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say sign. This item has been tabled. All right, our third agenda item is to consider an after-the-fact request from Richard and Joella Utek? Sorry. Watkins, Minnesota, from sections 6.2199A and 10.211A to leave as constructed a deck on an accessory structure 2 feet from a side property line in the R1 zoning district and within a bluff impact zone. The affected property is Lot 14, Block 1, Breezyway Shore, Section 36, Munson Township. The address is 21161 Elkview Circle, Richmond, Minnesota. You guys can come up to the... Oh,
Assuming it's UTEC. Apparently Mr. UTEC is not here. I didn't hear from him. I was assuming he was going to be here.
I would as well. I didn't.
My fear is that he didn't realize the second item wasn't going to happen.
Okay, well, let's take a short recess.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can do that.
So,
Oh, okay, yeah.
let's concur, let's give him till 7.
Do we want to handle any of the other items? We could handle those other items in between.
And
I
the
s-
swearing in and all that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
suppose we could do
Let's
that.
do the other items. There we go.
Hold on here. Okay. Yes, we are going to read the oath of office for Barry. Oath of office.
So what we need for oath of office, Madam Chair, is to have Barry just recite the oath of office, and then that will do for us. So you can raise your hand. That would be lovely.
The last time I did this was 35 years in the Army Reserve, so I'm a little nervous.
Okay. Yeah, we're not.
Do you
We're
want
not.
us to would you
we're
like
not-
us to recite it with you, Barry?
No, I can read it. That's
Okay.
I'll just, and then I just read it, right?
Yep. Just read it straight out.
I understand that. I, Barry Kirchhoff, solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and that I faithfully execute and discharge the duties of the Board of Adjustment in the County of Stearns, Minnesota, according to the law and to the best of my ability and understanding. I recited this oath as part of the proceedings of the Stearns County Board of Adjustment meeting on the 13th of March, 2025.
Perfect. And then if you signed it, we'll take that. The other item is the minutes that are in front of you. The reason why we had the minutes is because what you had previously approved was an abbreviated version. We didn't realize that's what we had done, so we need to get the official full version of the minutes so we could get those approved. Would be a wonderful thing.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the February 13th meeting minutes.
Can I get a second?
That should be from either Rob Schwagel or,
Can I second it?
yes.
I'll second it.
Okay. I third it.
And then a vote.
Yes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say. Okay.
Okay, so the
Do we
minutes-
have any other business to conduct?
No, but I am looking into training for Board of Adjustment members so that you get an opportunity to go to, typically if there's a class where they talk about land use and zoning. As we've had other meetings and other opportunities, we've tried to get education to boards and committees. So we are looking at land use training. The only one I found so far is in August. I'm looking for something that would be earlier than August. So I'm looking into that, and hopefully we'll have some opportunities for that purpose.
Okay. And you'll let us know when you,
Yep, as soon as I find it, I will let you know so that you guys can determine if you're
that'd be
available.
very beneficial.
Yes.
So, I am gonna call a 15-minute recess and we will re-adjourn or get together back at 7. Do I need to tap a gavel and say meeting back? Meeting back on. All right. We have our third agenda item, and they are not here. So, staff, how do you want to proceed?
Madam Chair, so that there'd be two options. The board could hear the item and vote on it as presented, or you could continue it till the April agenda.
Okay.
Your
well,
choice.
I feel we should hear it and be done with it. What is everyone else's thoughts?
Does that require a motion or just
Well, I just have
Consensus.
a question. If
Just
they're
kinda-
not here this evening and they go, well, we couldn't make it, whatever, can they appeal it to have a hearing then again?
Madam Chair, my understanding is that if you vote on the item, that's finality. They can appeal the decision to district court, but they can't come back next
They
month.
come back because any extenuating circumstances that they weren't able to attend. Okay. I just trying to learn some things here.
Yep.
Sorry
No,
for
So,
interrupting.
kind of a follow-on question to that, is this clearly stated in what you provided, and if they don't show up, we can make a decision? I mean, do they have recourse that they didn't know if they didn't come?
First, Madam Chair, Member Fiedler, I would find it hard to believe that he isn't under an extenuating circumstance because of the number of times that I've had the conversations with Mr. Utek. We've had quite a few conversations over the last couple of months, so I would find it hard to believe that if he could be here, he would, or he would have called if he had, an option. I think it'd be unusual for him to have, it's not forgotten. He called me right away after the last meeting, and we had extensive conversations, so.
And just keep in mind, guys, this is actually an after the fact, too. So,
Madam Chair, I wanted to have a discussion because of one note he has. I am in the process of bringing the lower deck and stairway into complete and permanent compliance. I want to have that conversation, and how do we get that hook in there and what that is and what do you plan?
Since, Madam Chair, Member Ray, since the last meeting, that particular section, he was denied the request for compliance. We have been working with him on compliance, meaning that the foundational portions on those decks had to be removed. He's aware of that, and that's, I think, why he said it the way he did. He's very aware that that needs to be removed. Dave, do you remember a date on that? I think we said June, but he wants to get it completed as soon as he can.
so just to clarify, Shelley, he's been very easy to work with, and he is going to make things compliant.
Yes.
Okay. So I am in favor of doing this tonight. I just need to know what everyone else would like to do. And again, it is an after the fact.
Well, my opinion is based on the discussion we just had. I think I'd like to wait till he's here. What does everybody else think?
would waiting somehow create a hardship for him at this point, at this season? of the year?
Madam Chair, Member Benchard, I know that he wanted to have action, at least the last time I talked, because his intention is to sell this property because he's looking at another property. So I know he wants to get this one into conformance and make sure everything is good. So he wants this squared away. That I know, but it's up to you if you want to go forward or not.
And this is,
Oh, he's on the line.
While we're waiting, what is everyone else's thoughts? Dan, you want to get it
Well,
done?
I would like to hear, really, if we could, if he's tried to get here and can't get here, I think he has the benefit to have his day.
Rob?
I'd just as soon go ahead.
So I don't know why we've had a couple of people believe the meeting is not tonight, but that's not the first time we've heard that.
Do you want him to participate via phone? He's willing to.
That'd be lovely.
Yep, let's get it done with.
Rick, I'm going to hand my phone to Shelley, and she'll hold it up to the mics, and she will direct you when you can speak, okay? One moment.
Just the only thing is after
Okay,
that.
thanks, Rick. We are here, and Amy's going to go ahead and proceed with the request. And then I think there might be a question or two for you, so try to listen in, okay?
Yep, I can hear you good.
Okay. So our third agenda item is to consider an after-the-fact request from Richard and Joella UTEC from Watkins, Minnesota, from section 6.21H99A and 10.211A to leave as constructed a deck on an accessory structure 2 feet from a side property line in the R1 zoning district and within a bluff impact zone. The affected property is Lot 14, Block 1 of Breezeway Shores, Section 36, Munson Township. The address is 21161 Elk View Circle, Richmond, Minnesota. Which board members were able to visit the site, and were there any discussions that occurred? Barry?
I was not able to visit the site.
Rob?
Yes, no discussions.
I was a yes, no discussions. Dan?
Yes, no discussion?
Dave?
Visited, no discussion.
George?
No.
Okay, staff report and any correspondence received, please.
The applicants own Lot 14, Block 1 of Breezeway Shores, which is on Horseshoe Lake. They purchased the property in 2008. Breezeway Shores was platted in 1961 prior to any official controls. The tract is 13,885 square feet or 0.32 acres in area per the certificate of survey that was provided with the previous application. The property is in the R1 zoning district. 1968, per our county assessor records, the cabin, decking to the lake, and the sheds on the property were constructed. That's according to our county assessor's records. The applicants are asking tonight to keep as constructed the deck on the small accessory structure. And it's 2 feet from the side property line, which is an 80% deviation from the 10-foot requirement, and it's within a bluff impact zone. The shed itself is grandfathered. It was constructed prior to official controls. There really is no conclusive way to determine when the deck was constructed on that shed. The bluff and bluff impact zone encompass the entire lot. Those bluff protection standards were implemented by the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources in 1989, basically to help minimize visual impacts from structures and provide general slope protection from construction activities. The property is in the shoreline overlay of Horseshoe Lake. Horseshoe Lake is a recreational development lake. It is on the list of impaired waters for mercury in fish and excessive nutrients or blue-green algae. The existing impervious lot coverage is 17%. The applicants did appear before the Board of Adjustment on November 14th of 2024, and they are working towards compliance with some other items that were on that request. The subsurface sewage treatment system is compliant. Alternatives would be to reduce the deck to the side of the shed where the door is located. They could cut it off at the end or the lakeside wall, or they could bring the 4-foot walkway back to where the door is there, to gain access into that shed. I do not have any correspondence, Madam Chair, so I'll let you take it away.
Rick, do you want to state your name and address for the record?
Sure. Rick Utek, and my home address is 16217 183rd Avenue, Watkins, Minnesota.
Okay, thank you. Do any of the board members have any questions or clarifications?
Before then, or
He's just going to get any clarification from the board if they have any questions.
okay.
I have a question, I don't know for staff or applicant. We have two pictures. One picture has decking on it, the other picture has partial decking on it. I'm confused.
Okay, Madam Chair, Member Fiedler, I can handle that one. So the one picture is last fall, prior to the request, the initial request, which was heard November 14th, 2024. The other picture with the boards removed were after the denial of that initial request for that deck. Mr. Utek had started removing those boards, and in so doing, he, with the posts in the ground and such, he was of the opinion that that deck had to have been there when that shed was originally constructed in 1968. And so that's why we're back here tonight, to look at this deck on the shed again.
So the intent would be to leave that constructed the way it looked in the fall on the property, and then these metal poles that are, Rick, you want to clarify, those are got concrete filled?
Sure, they're concrete filled metal poles, and the reason when I took that all apart, in order to the deck that's in front of the shed, I need those posts and that framing. So I was just going to leave that. And in talking to the office, they stated that framing had to go away too. And then I looked at some aerial photos, and I could see that deck. I couldn't see the deck on the side because there's just too many trees, too much brush. I could see that there is a deck on the door side of the building, and the way it's framed, that was all framed as one. So really, that deck had to have been there at the same time. I mean, they couldn't have built one and then built the other one later. The framing is all one. So if that would be the case, then it should have been grandfathered in. So I asked that, that one should be grandfathered in, and maybe that was just a misstep by the office, or, just something they couldn't possibly know without looking at the framing. So they said there really isn't any way they could grandfather it in without talking again to the board, you guys. So that's why we're here again tonight. So it's my feeling that one should be grandfathered in, because in order to fix that right, I would have to yank those poles out, because those poles they would be right in the middle of where people walk and stuff, and if we were having a bonfire, someone's going to run into that. So that they would have to be removed, and they're cement filled, so that would be a detriment to the bluff to have to pull those out. And then I would have to bore in a new pole at the corner of the shed, to support that deck, in order to have it stable, and get it below frost like it should be, so that it doesn't heave up and down. And so that's why I'm here, just to kind of try and right something that was probably wronged a little bit. I am bringing everything else into compliance. I'm gonna, at the bottom, I tried to fix it good enough with frost in the ground and everything on the bottom, but what I'm going to do down there, I'll shrink that deck up to make it 32 or less square feet, and then I'm going to have just the 3 stringers. The stringers are still there. I don't know if they have pictures of that, but I'm going to make that all compliant completely. I mean, down by the lake, I'm able to do that without any real detriment to the bluff. I can do all that. It's just that top deck. And I can leave the boards off too, but the framing there, anyone could put it back. So, and by rights, it really should have been grandfathered in. When the shed was built, that had to be built too, because just the way the posts were there, and the way the deck in front, that you can see from an aerial photo just a little bit if you look closely. You can't see the one on the side, but you can see that it's all one deck. So I guess that's all I'm asking for, is to have that understood as grandfathered in and not needing a variance after the fact. But they didn't know how to do that without talking to the board again.
Madam Chair, since it was denied previously, now we have to come back. That's why it has to be in front of you.
Okay, thank you, Rick.
So I got another question for clarification. So if we believe what the applicant just said, there's no need for a variance, is there?
Well, because we denied the request before, now we need to go back and address it.
Because this would be an after the fact.
Madam Chair, there's 3 sections that apply, and they're in the report, of course. It's too close to the side property line, it's in a bluff, and decks aren't allowed on accessory structures, so that's what would require a variance.
So, and because it was previously denied that way, I can't go back and retroactively do it. So this would be, if you go forward and go through the process and approve, then it puts it all to right. It's good to go.
But again, if it's grandfathered in, it's a moot point.
But it's not, had we said that prior to the hammer falling at the previous meeting, my answer would have been yes. But that didn't happen. It was denied, and now I've got to deal with the denial, so this is righting that wrong, so to speak.
Okay, understand.
Make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, do any of the board members have any questions or clarification from staff or the applicant? Okay. Anyone wanting to provide any testimony, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Anyone wanting to provide any testimony, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Anyone wanting to provide any testimony, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Okay, since there's no one, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
I move to close.
I'll second.
Okay. Dave made the motion and George second. Okay. Is there any further discussion?
Nope, she is. Yep, no, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay. So now we're gonna do, all of those in favor. So Barry,
Close the public hearing.
Have to do a roll call to close. Motion, it's been motion and second, now a roll call.
okay, can I get a roll call, all in favor? By names. So Barry? Yes. Rob?
Yeah.
I'm a yes. Dan?
Yes.
Dave?
Dave, yes.
And George?
Yes.
Okay. And then all those in favor say aye. We did that, okay.
Yeah.
The public hearing is closed. We will now proceed to the findings. All right. So, number 1, the proposed use is allowed in zoning districts in which the subject property is located, yes or no? And I'm going to say yes, they are allowed in R1 zone. Barry?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Okay, number 2, the variance will be in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls. Yes or no?
I'm going to go with a yes on this, with the understanding that, again, the general purpose and intent of that, and then this was built before.
I have to agree with you. I mean, looking at the foundation and how it was built and how it's dug in there, I do honestly believe that is how things were done.
Yeah. And I think that a disruption of that bank, just by pulling out the posts and digging new would probably be detrimental more so than beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dan's a yes. Dave?
Yes.
George?
Yes, same rationale.
And I'm a yes. Rob?
Yeah.
Barry?
Yes.
Okay, number 3, the variance will be consistent with the comprehensive plan, yes or no? I'm a yes, and I am going with living goal number 3. And that is to support housing options that give people in all life stages and all of the economic means viable choices for safe, stable, and affordable homes. All right, Barry,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
and George.
Yes.
Okay. Number 4, the property owner proposes to use the property in a reasonable manner. Yes or no?
Madam Chair, I'm going to say yes. Using a storage shed is a reasonable use.
Okay. Dave,
Yes.
Dan,
I'm a yes.
I'm also a yes. Rob,
Yes.
and Barry.
Yes.
Okay. Number 5, the plight of the landowner is due to circumstances unique to the property, not created by the landowner. Yes or no?
I'm gonna say yes, the structure was there when purchased it, been there for quite a while, has not making major changes to it, just repairing.
Okay. George,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Rob,
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Okay. Number 6, the variance, if granted, maintains the essential character of the locality. Yes or no?
Madam Chair, it's not going to change anything. It's maybe been there for 60 years already.
Well, I think if they change it, it's going to look more funny, and you will definitely be able to see it. So, I'm a yes. George,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
and Barry.
Yes.
Okay. Number 7, the need for the variance involves more than economic consideration. Yes or no?
I'm a yes, the deck was failing, safety issue going forward, so repairing it is definitely more than economic.
Okay. Barry,
I agree with that. Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Staff?
All were answered in the affirmative.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to pass the variance as grandfathered in with the provision that he does put the deck boards back on that.
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Barry,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Dan, Dave,
Yes.
and George.
Yes.
Thank you, Rick. Your variance is granted.
Motion passed.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, one more agenda item, guys.
Yep. Okay, we'll talk soon. Yep.
Apologize for missing.
Correction on the minute.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yep, thanks.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to accept the board minutes from 14 November, item E, which were rewritten and more complete, I guess would be, was it the complete version?
Did we do those minutes already?
So we did
No.
February, but not November.
Okay, not November. Okay.
So this is for item E on the agenda. Board of Adjustment meetings from 14 November have approved those minutes.
Okay, Dan gave a motion to accept November minutes. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, George seconded. Barry, all in favor, say aye. Barry?
Yes.
Okay, Rob, sorry. I'm a yes. Dan?
Yes.
Dave?
I probably have to abstain. I'm part of this body.
Oh,
and-
I think I have to
Abstain.
recant my yes
Yep.
too because
Point.
I wasn't part of it.
Okay, so Rob is a yes, I'm a yes, Dan's a yes, George?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, Barry in favor, say aye, or sigh if not.
Yes, aye.
Rob?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Dan?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
George?
Absolutely.
All right.